And a friendly caution to those that think you can call any pastor a false prophet, or you can just call any church a cult or a money-grabbing institution. We have rights as pastors, and we are now doing certain things that will become very evident to write new case law in South Africa to deal with those who think they have the right just to discredit and attack churches because they just think they can vomit their filth on social media and there's no repercussion. Just liking a hateful comment, you can be sued. Better get in tune with the laws of defamation and the laws of social media, because I ain't taking that rubbish no longer.
G'day folks, welcome to the channel. In this video, I want to play you a clip by a pastor called Boshoff from CRC Church in South Africa. And in this clip, Boshoff says that if you criticize him or his church by calling him a false prophet, or saying that his church is a cult, or saying that his church is a money-grabbing institution, then he wants to sue you. Even if you like what he calls a hateful comment, you can be sued, he says. And he's threatening people with legal action. He talks about, back in the day, you could have just gone and knocked all of people's teeth out and things like that. He gets really angry and worked up in this video. And what I want to do is I want to just play you the clip, and as we go along, I just want to pause and comment on the things that he says and compare what he says to what the Bible says. And I also want to talk about this issue of being sued for defamation. I want to critique some of the things he says, and I want to give you some guidelines for commenting and posting on social media so that you don't get sued. This is an important issue because even recently my friend Sean, I noticed on his channel, received a letter from a lawyer talking about defamation and so forth. So this is going to become something that becomes increasingly more and more of a problem for social media users. And I think it's important that we are ready as Christians to respond to these kinds of threats. Let's get right into it. Here's this clip from Boshoff.
You know, back in the day, if you said something about somebody, you had to man up. There was no law to protect you. You opened your mouth wide, that person had all the right in the world to walk up to you and smack all your teeth out of your mouth. And you could not go to the police station. You had to man up for the words you say. Now you hide behind your computer and you think you can just mouth off anything because nobody can come smack you. Well, we'll deal with your smack talk.
Can you imagine Jesus speaking that way? Can you imagine the apostles speaking that way? I mean, I'm really surprised that nobody got up and rebuked him right then and there on the spot. I'm just really surprised that that didn't happen. Jesus said, "Bless those who curse you." What does it mean to curse someone? Well, you look at the Greek when Jesus said those words, and it means to speak badly of people. So Jesus is saying, bless those that speak badly of you. The Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 12, he talks about being defamed. He says, being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we endure. Being defamed, we entreat. What does it mean to entreat? Well, it means to seek to convince people that the things being spoken against you are false. So the Apostle Paul would seek to convince people that these things being spoken against him were not true. That's the way that Boshoff and CRC Church should be dealing with things. Now, how would they do that practically? Well, if the media is accusing them of being a money-grabbing institution, or if people are on social media saying they're a money-grabbing institution, what they can do is seek to convince people that that's not true by showing them their financials, showing the people and the media, here's the financials of the church. Look, we've not been mishandling finances.
I have to fight this on behalf of every pastor, I will. But the church will have dignity again, and pastors will be revered again, and we will put dignity back on the church of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
If you really want to restore dignity to the church again, and you want pastors to be revered, the answer is not to sue people for defamation. The answer is to address the issue. What's the issue? People are looking at CRC Church as a money-grabbing institution. Now, how do you address that particular issue? Well, do what the Apostle Paul did. What did the Apostle Paul do when he was concerned that people might think he was in it for the money? Well, he stopped asking people for money. Start with that. That's where you start. And here's the thing. If you keep pushing tithing, if you promise people that God's going to supernaturally bless them and bless their finances and so forth if they give, and you keep making people feel guilty for not giving to the church, and then you run around living in a lifestyle of luxury, you can't blame people for looking at you and thinking, gee, that's a money-grabbing institution. That's the image that you're projecting to people.
Listen to me tonight. I can't go around and call you a false lawyer or a false property agent. Just liking a hateful comment, you can be sued. Better get in tune with the laws of defamation and the laws of social media, because I ain't taking that rubbish no longer. Because you're influencing the weak, thinking you can call CRC a cult, call a man of God a false prophet. That would be as good as me going and saying you're a false attorney, you're a thief. You have no right. The Constitution protects me as much as it does you. The law protects me as much as it does you. So you better choose your words very carefully. Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm not 30 years old. Maybe your arrogance will cost you your university car.
Okay, first of all, you can't actually sue somebody for liking a hateful comment. You have to actually be the one to publish the comment in order to get sued. Secondly, calling someone a false lawyer or a false attorney or a false property agent is not the same as calling someone a false prophet. You know, there are legal definitions on what a lawyer is, what an attorney is, what a property agent is. There's no legal definition of what a prophet is. The law doesn't even recognize the existence of a prophet. The law's not going to come in and say, here's a true prophet and he's a false prophet, and you've wrongly called him a false prophet. The law's not going to weigh in on that kind of subjective thing. So he's just simply wrong on that point. In addition to that, when you call someone a false lawyer or a false property agent or a false attorney, that implies some sort of fraud and perhaps even criminal behavior. Not so when you call someone a false prophet. So he's simply wrong about that point.
Make the devil and his followers pay for the poor. Watch me. Make the devil and his haters pay for our feeding projects. Those who attack the church will fund the feeding of the poor. Listen to me. Listen to me. Very people this devil oppressed, his followers will pay to remove their pain and their suffering. Yes.
So what he's saying is that he wants to sue those that attack the church and then use the money to help their feeding program and to help grow their ministry to the poor. And one thing that I will say about CRC Church is that they do have a very good feeding program. They do have a very good ministry to the poor, and they should be commended and praised for that, because many people are blessed because of what they're doing. However, I would also say that whenever I've looked into the finances of big mega churches, what I've found is that they'll rake in like $7, $8 or more $1 million and then give like $100,000 or $200,000 to minister to the poor. Now they'll make themselves look great with that $100,000 or $200,000, but the reality is it's just a slither of what they're actually taking in.
We have advocates and lawyers that are now operating pro bono to give their time to defend the faith. It's not a game any longer. Too much at stake.
Pro bono lawyers. I mean, the word pro bono means that they act without a fee until they win. You know, I mean, just pay for your lawyers, man. Just fork out the money and pay for the lawyers. Listen, I mean, the last thing you want to do is use pro bono lawyers anyway. But here, think about this. I'll give you a little tip. If somebody tries to sue you for saying that CRC Church is a money-grabbing institution, you can just respond very easily by applying to the court for what's called discovery, and you can apply for all of the financial records of the church, as well as their bank statements, everything. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being sued for defamation for calling the church a money-grabbing institution, and then you're just like, yeah, give me discovery. I want to see all of the financial records of the church. I want to see their bank statements. I want to see where this money is going. I mean, they'd be in big trouble if they tried to sue me for defamation, I tell you that.
You say, Pastor, that doesn't sound Christ-like. How about Jesus, who made a whip and he beat some people out of the temple that were stopping people from coming to Jesus Christ? Let me tell you, if you go on social media and you rant and you rave and you push people away from God and you cause people to backslide and you deceive people, then the whip of the law is coming your way. Thank you very much. Donkey.
I honestly can't believe he brought that passage up. I mean, seriously, I mean, people are accusing his church of being a money-grabbing institution, and he responds by saying Jesus drove people out of the temple. I mean, why did he drive people out of the temple? I mean, just think about it, right? They were selling animals and, trying to make money. They were turning the temple of God into a marketplace. Jesus says, this is meant to be a house of prayer, but you have turned it into a den of thieves. Why would he bring that passage up when he's being accused of the very thing that Jesus is condemning?
Don't do the soft Christianese thing with me. Say, Pastor, pray for your enemy. I'll pray for them afterwards. And you can't sue a brother. He's not a brother. The Bible says, mark a divisive man. The Bible says, mark a divisive man. Mark him. Silence him. Get rid of him. Mark him.
When you read that passage about marking a divisive man, it's talking about people that are preaching false doctrine contrary to the apostolic teaching. That's the context. Now, when Paul says not to sue a brother, I mean, he's talking about people that are defrauding each other and so forth, and he says, look, don't sue each other, let it be sorted out within the church. Now, he's trying to say, we dismiss that. If they're speaking against us, well, we dismiss it because they're not a brother. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, Paul is talking to people that were defrauding each other, and he still assumes that they're brothers, and he says, look, this needs to be sorted out in the church, and he says, don't go to the law against each other. Let even the weakest among you judge. If what this man is saying is correct and we can just dismiss anyone just at the drop of a hat, then Paul's teaching is meaningless. I mean, it's very reasonable for a born-again Christian to look at Boshoff and say, look, this guy got mega rich from the ministry. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know. We can't say, I'm not saved because I believe that. I'm not saved because I've reached that conclusion. That's just ridiculous. The fact is, a saved person can easily reach that conclusion, and the Bible is very clear, you can't sue a brother.
Paul used Roman law to defend himself. People beat up on him. Today, people beat up on you with their words. He said, I'm a Roman citizen. They backed off.
Yes, the Apostle Paul did use Roman law to defend himself, but that's when he was imprisoned by unbelievers, right? The Apostle Paul wouldn't use Roman law to sue a brother for defamation. That's ridiculous. Can you imagine the Apostle Paul suing a brother for defamation? And yet, I bet if this pastor was to sue somebody, most of the church would be behind him. It's terrible. Terrible that people would think that this sort of behavior was okay when it's not. It's unbiblical. And I would say the very fact that he's teaching that to his church, in my opinion, he's a false teacher for teaching this kind of thing to his congregation. Now, that's not defamatory for me to say because, number one, I'm giving my opinion, and my opinion is based on fact, and it's in the public interest. You see how defamation law works? You've given your opinion, and it's based on fact. The opinion is actually based on fact, and it's in the public interest. That's how defamation law works in South Africa. As well, like if you're in America and you comment, and he tries to sue you in South Africa, you're going to have a very difficult time trying to enforce that in America. I mean, it's crazy that this guy actually thinks that, he can sue people left, right, and center for the silliest of things. In my opinion, it would not be defamatory to say that Boshoff is a false prophet, because even just recently, he claimed to be prophesying on behalf of God when he used Old Testament verses in the Bible about the nation of Israel and applied them to his congregation, promising that they would be financially blessed this year. He literally did this recently, and he said that he actually said he was prophesying to them as he was using scriptures about the nation of Israel in the Old Testament and applying them to his congregation. To me, in my opinion, it would not be defamatory to say that he was a false prophet on that basis, right? And no court is going to, try to say, oh, is he a false prophet? Is he not? No court is going to weigh in on that. It's ridiculous. It's not defamatory to say that, in my opinion, CRC is a money-grabbing institution because they're constantly teaching the prosperity gospel, promising people wealth if they give to the church, and making people feel bad for not giving, and then raking in millions of dollars. In my opinion, it would not be defamatory to say that. It would not be defamatory, in my opinion. I've heard that when people sign up for membership at CRC Church, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard this, they have to sign a pledge to be loyal to Boshoff. Now, if that's true, if that fact is true, then it would not be defamatory to say, in my opinion, CRC Church is a cult because they make members sign a pledge of loyalty to Boshoff. Number one, I'm giving an opinion. The opinion would be based on fact, and it would be in the public interest. You see, it's silly to think that you can just sue people left, right, and center for defamation. And in my experience, a lot of these pastors, they just blow a lot of wind. It's a lot of wind. They don't actually sue you. They just threaten you with legal action in order to stop you from speaking. Well, I hope you like this video. If you have, please consider subscribing. Give me a thumbs up, hit the bell notification button. I'll see you in the comment section, and you'll see me in my next video.